To order the City Council meeting for the City of Highland Park, Illinois, November 18th, 2024. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Bruckman. Here. Councilmember Ross.
Here.
Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Councilmember Stone. Here. Councilmember Bloomberg. Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have a quorum. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held October 28th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the minutes are approved. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session council meeting held October 28th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those minutes are also approved. May I have a motion to approve the warrant list?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on the warrant list? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Bruckman. Aye. Councilmember Ross.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone. Aye. Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays, and the warrant list is approved. We will continue now to the report of the mayor. And before I continue with my report, I'd like to pause to recognize the more than 100 people who have been held hostage in Gaza now for over 400 days. While this agony seems endless, we continue to keep them in our thoughts and continue to hold their loved ones here in Highland Park and around the world in our hearts. I have no appointments this evening. I have no proclamations this evening. I'm delighted to welcome Moraine Township Supervisor Ann Flanagan-Bassey to the podium, who will share information about the Moraine Township Food Pantry and the families that they serve through this valuable resource. Welcome.
Greetings, and thank you for once again allowing me a few minutes of your time. I know how packed your agendas already are. Let's start out with the Moraine Township Food Pantry. Our happiest day would be if we opened the door and nobody's there. But right now, we open the door and people are there. So who we serve? Moraine Township Food Pantry serves all income-qualified Moraine Township residents, period. You have to prove residency, and you sign that you're income qualified, and you get food from our pantry. If you don't live in Moraine Township, the first time you come, we will give you food and give you a list of where all the pantries in Lake County are, so you can seek a pantry in your township or other. What we serve. When residents visit the pantry, they choose the food that their family enjoys. In addition to shelf-stable food, we offer fresh produce, eggs, dairy, meat, bakery goods, and other items. We try to offer household items to residents who are on SNAP, because you can't buy non-food products with SNAP is a Department of Education or Department of Agriculture program, and you can't buy anything that's not food. Toilet paper, cleaning supplies, personal care products, diapers, none of that can be bought. So, when we have those things, we offer them to our clients and we purchase them when we can. During Thanksgiving and the December holidays, for Thanksgiving, we work in partnership with Congregation Bethel and Jewel Foods to provide complete dinners for all of our Moraine Township Food Pantry clients. During the December holidays, any resident who uses our income qualified services, whether it's the food pantry, seniors with LIHEAP, any program that we have that requires you be income qualified, we invite you to participate in the holiday gift drive. And the holiday gift drive, is for families, it's for seniors, it's for some Medicaid disabled residents, et cetera. And if you're in that program, in addition to the gifts that are provided to your family, we also give you grocery cards so that your family can shop for the foods that are more meaningful for their holidays. We don't all eat the same things on the same holidays. The Moraine Township Food Pantry also provides additional kid-friendly food. to students in District 112 and Highland Park High School who are eligible for the federal free and reduced lunch program. So when your kids are not fed when our children are not fed at school, you can come to the pantry and get additional kid-friendly food during those vacation times. We have quite a few other school programs. We do nurse bags, drop-in center food, summer programs. What I'd like to make sure everyone knows is the food, equipment, and supplies for our pantry are supported by the community, not with tax dollars. And we have this astoundingly generous community who make sure that everyone who is hungry in our community is fed. We use either people make donations to the pantry, they walk in, or we have a 501c3 where we purchase the items that are the food, equipment, and supplies for the pantry. The other thing I'd like to emphasize to anyone who uses our pantry, who may use our pantry, is that information about visitors to the township for any service at all, including the food pantry, is absolutely private and confidential. The food pantry does not receive federal, state, or local funding. The information about our clients is retained in our office and is absolutely private and confidential. Wanted to assure everyone. For how the community can help, when residents, while the holidays are when we think about food, our residents need food all year long. And we're focused on food during the holidays, but we need support all year long. Residents can organize their groups or organizations or businesses to do food drives periodically. If you're shopping for your family, then if you pick up an extra item or two for the pantry, you can drop it off at our township office, 8:30 to 4, Monday through Friday, except for holidays, and we're always grateful for that. Our current needs is always on the news feed of our website. So if you go to our website, our current pantry needs or our most needed items are there. Sunset Foods every year allows our volunteers to greet shoppers the first weekend in December. And, smile and greet them, wish them a happy holiday, and encourage them to add a donation onto their bill when they check out. The credit we get from that allows us to buy fresh food for the pantry all year long. And it's just been an amazing partnership with this great corporate citizen in our community. That will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, December 6th, 7th, and 8th. And let's see. You can also go to the donate button on our website, and it drops down to what you want. You can contribute to the food pantry. You can do emergency assistance for other client needs, holiday gift drive. And we're just astoundingly generous. We're incredibly grateful to live in a community that is generous, but also genuinely cares about their neighbors who need additional resources. Any questions?
Thank you. If I remember correctly, there have been about 700 families served each month, or has that number varied?
Actually, it does vary. It does vary. I do a 15-month service report for the board, and I total up the 12 months. So in the last 12 months, we've probably fed about 8,000 resident visits. It's about 4,000 households, but the people in that households we're feeding would be 8,000. So about 4,000 household visits in the last 12 months.
Amazing. Wonderful. Thank you.
So anything else?
Any other questions? Nope.
Thank you
Thank you so much,
again.
Supervisor Bassi.
Appreciate
Really
it, and
appreciate you
happy
coming back. And I'll just reiterate that website is morainetownship.org, and you can go there to see what the current shopping list is. And the hours are, is it 8 or 8:30 till 4:30?
8:30 to 4.
8:30 till 4, Monday through Friday.
And the food pantry hours are on the website.
And the address is on Central
800.
800. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. One last item under the report of the mayor, and I'll just share with you that the city has received a few emails today about the non-binding advisory referendum, which still needs to be certified by the county clerk's office. And I just wanted to share a couple of comments. As mayor, I take very seriously the responsibility of listening to our community, respecting the input of our residents, and ensuring that our city operates with transparency, with integrity, and in alignment with its priorities. We all up here value public opinion, and this topic has been included in our 2025 work plan for further discussion and consideration. This decision reflects our commitment to thoughtful, deliberate governance and to maintaining a balanced approach to addressing the needs of our city. As a reminder, that work plan, which is always available on our website and is discussed at least quarterly by our city manager, is a living document. It prioritizes projects and initiatives essential to Highland Park's future. And it ensures that we're allocating our resources and time effectively without reactionary or piecemeal decision-making. The suggestion to deviate from this plan and call for an immediate vote on this issue is not only unnecessary, but it undermines the collaborative and transparent process we rely on to make decisions. It's vital that we approach this topic in a way that's consistent with our values, respects the voices of all residents, and allows for informed deliberation, not rushed judgments. And so, while I respect the rights of my fellow council members to share their perspectives, and I know they will momentarily, I urge them to honor the process we have in place. Anything less sets a precedent that threatens the deliberate governance that our residents expect and deserve. And I look forward to engaging in a robust discussion with the full council when this topic is addressed as planned in 2025. I will now turn over to business from the council. The city has 18 advisory groups, boards, and commissions composed of well over 100 dedicated volunteers. Over the past few weeks, we've welcomed the chairs of these groups to provide reports on their work, and tonight we are hearing from the chairs of the Business and Economic Development Advisory Group and the Cultural Arts Advisory Group. And first, I'd like to welcome the Business and Economic Development Advisory Group Chair, Chris Falcon, to the podium. Welcome.
All right, thank you, Mayor, council, staff, and residents. My name is Chris Falcon. Like Mayor said, I am the new chair for the Business Economic Development Advisory Group. Historically, BDAG was responsible for primarily giving feedback. Whenever council had some initiatives they wanted to get feedback on, BDAG would do exactly that. But our role has kind of changed, and now outreach has become a little bit more important. So my first initiative as chair was to really kind of take a second look at our mission and purpose statement and align our mission and purpose with our new function. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of read our new mission and let you know what we've been doing recently. So the BDAG aims to foster a vibrant local economy by supporting businesses, advising on economic initiatives, and promoting open communication and partnerships that strengthen the city's prosperity. This year, we reviewed updates for the city's marketing website, enjoyhp.com, and explored ways to incentivize property owners to attract desired restaurants and retail boutiques. We also advised on updates to the business opening guide. In September, we engaged the business community discussing incentives and the potential use of Placer.ai data to create a quarterly dashboard for businesses' informed decision-making. The advisory group temporarily suspended the Beautification Award program due to a lack of nominations. We will revisit in Q4 and assess the impact of the exterior grant program on beautification efforts. Tonight, the City Council will consider 4 food and beverage establishment improvement and expansion grant application, and BDAG is proud to have been integral to the program's development. Looking forward to 2025, we aim to identify complementary uses to encourage property owners to attract new businesses and update the Business Economic Development Strategic Plan. Instead of a business outreach campaign, BDAG will bring local retailers, restaurateurs, service businesses, brokers, and property owners to City Hall to meet with them with the intention of educating them on city programs and understanding their needs. The advisory group comprises 8 voting members: Council Liaison Marissa Bruckman, alternate Annette Lidower, staff liaisons Carolyn Hirsch and Corey Cohn, 2 Highland Park High School student advisors, and the Chamber of Commerce director also attends our meetings. You guys have any questions?
Do you have any questions? Councilmember Littwer?
So I just want to thank both Chris as our chair and one of the, I think, your vice chair, Stephanie Kirch, because this year the work that's been done is really different from what I've seen in the past 3 years on it as an alternate or as a liaison. And frankly, you took initiative, you've broadened the scope, you've demanded to see what the city is doing and have some input on it. And we are really grateful to you because the business input that we've gotten back from BDAG is exactly what the advisors should be doing. So that we don't have the expertise up here necessarily. We do have staff. However, your input as business owners, local businesses, people from all walks of life in our community, and that bringing in the voice of the chamber too, has been extremely helpful. So between the marketing materials that you help produce, to say nothing of the initiatives you've taken, and weighing in on all of our initiatives have been incredibly helpful. And I really want to thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bloomberg?
So earlier this evening during our committee of the whole meeting, we were informed about what's going on with business development and community development as an overview. And we had an opportunity to see your direct impact of your advisory group and your interaction with that department, and it's really fantastic. It's now, the city is now looking to figure out how they can help businesses, how they can work with businesses rather than looking at us as an enforcement agency. And it's a very different approach. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. If your ears were burning, we were singing your praises. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Tapia?
Chris, given the refinement of the, purpose of BDAG or what you offer, what is it that you need more from the city staff, city council? What would help your group be able to move forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. Primarily what we're trying to do is BDAG is really trying to act more like a funnel, right? Like we want to go ahead and we want to connect whatever concerns or ideas that council has and go ahead and give you ideas on what you can do. And likewise, let the community know, okay, take those little bits of information from the business community, funnel that through, and give you really specific kind of maybe needs or concerns that community has. So what could you guys do? We just need to let the entire community know that BDAG is here. Make sure that everyone understands what our purpose is, what our role is, and just have a little bit more presence. And so, whatever we can do to let business owners know, get to those events that we're going to be holding here, where we're going to get information from them, share information with them, let the community know that we're here, and that we do have this new purpose, this new initiative to really just take in more information, just focus on communication and outreach, because I think it's really important.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Yes, Marissa. Sorry, Councilmember Brookman.
Thank you. And thank you, Chris. I'm so glad we got the chance to meet when I became the liaison, and I really like what you're doing with your focus on this. I also really appreciate our meeting schedule for 2025 and that we're doing individual meetings with restaurant owners and commercial realtors and all different, where you're really dividing it down so we get a chance to really know what's going on in our community so that we continue to be vibrant and bring in what we need. So I just want to say thank you. It's been a pleasure to be your liaison so far, and thank you for all your continued work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Greatly appreciate your dedication and the dedication of the advisory group, because you're doing amazing work and this council is ready to move forward with it in partnership with you. So thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Give me the time.
Next, I'd like to invite Cultural Arts Advisory Group Chair Dr. Gerald Eichenberg to the podium to provide an update.
I was just telling Chair Falcon that we did not discuss our dress wear this evening. Great minds think alike, is what you said, yes. Thank you, Mayor Rodering and City Council members. I'm pleased to provide an update on the Cultural Arts Advisory Group's activities over the course of 2024. From expanding Highland Park Poet Laureate programming to enhancing our public art map to providing policy feedback to the council and more, our group of 10 volunteers has worked hard to advance and support the cultural arts in Highland Park. Highland Park's first Poet Laureate, Laura Joyce Hubbard, hosted a number of programs this year, including 3 community poetry readings, giving residents of all ages the opportunity to share their favorite poems with others in celebration of the literary arts. We welcomed 3 nationally recognized writers to Highland Park for discussion, readings, and workshops facilitated by Laura, which included Pulitzer Prize-winning former United States Poet Laureate Natasha Trethewey, writer, teacher, and Marine Corps veteran Micah Fields, and Guggenheim Fellow and Whiting Award recipient Catherine Barnett. In addition to establishing partnerships with Highland Park Poetry, East on Central, as well as Highland Park's new bookstore, Secret World Books, Laura has also represented Highland Park at various events throughout the North Shore and across the country. The inaugural Highland Park Poet Laureate tenure has been far more impactful than any of us could have imagined at its outset. And most of that is actually related to Laura's talent and tenacity. We are also proud of our partnership with the Highland Park Public Library in creating an exciting new feature for our public art map, an audio guide with updated, detailed information about the works of public art situated throughout Highland Park. Highland Park resident and host of NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, Peter Sagal, has generously given of his time and talent to provide the audio narration, which was researched and written by several CAG advisors and our staff liaison, Amanda Bennett. We look forward to making the audio guide public online once the library staff has completed post-production work, and to making this guide even more accessible to our community and visitors with QR codes adjacent to each of the artwork come this spring. This past year, our group has researched potential relocation sites for the Miss Nitro sculpture, which is currently located adjacent to the library. And we have shared feedback with this council regarding this internationally important work's long-term siting and conservation needs at a recent committee of the whole meeting. We've also dedicated significant time to administration of Highland Park's 2 art-related awards, the Arts Award and the Photography Contest. Annually, we review outstanding submission that are a palpable sign of the strength of the cultural energy in our community. More information about these and all the other programs I've mentioned is available at the city's website, cityhpil.com. Lastly, I would like to thank all of our advisors for their dedication and heartfelt devotion to our community. For me personally, the last 5 years has been a great learning experience, not only about our city's cultural life, but about Highland Park's political life as well. On behalf of all the CAG advisors, I offer thanks to the mayor and city council, particularly our council liaison, Andre Tapia, and alternate council liaison, Yumi Ross, and to recognize our staff liaison, Amanda Bennett, for her guidance and counseling at CAG and her overall support of the arts, which is so vital to our community. Thank you very much. If there's any questions or comments, happy to answer if I can.
No? Thank you, Chair Eisenberg. Oh, we do have a question. Councilmember Johnson.
Actually, similar question to what asked Chris. What would be most helpful to you from staff and from us, given the things that are your priorities right now?
Our main ask at this point would probably be to look at funding for the Poet Laureate program going forward. This is a new program. It's ending its 2nd year right now, and the funding is minimal. And that's what we asked for initially because we had no idea how this was going to go. But it's really blossomed beyond everybody's expectations. So when we come back in 6 or 8 months talking about 2026, hopefully there will be some more funding available if we really want to make this a very robust program. But so far, so good.
Thank you. Well, thank you,
you
Chair
all.
Eisenberg, and please share our appreciation to the members of the Cultural Arts Advisory Group. Your work to create and amplify outstanding cultural experiences in Highland Park is truly appreciated.
I'll convey that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any other business from the council?
I have some.
Councilmember Littwer and Councilmember Tapia.
Yes. I'm addressing my comments to the public as well as to my colleagues on the City Council tonight. In a time of great division in our country, I cannot begin to tell you how proud I am of the residents of Highland Park. Whatever someone's political preference, it's been a horribly contentious time for everyone, except in Highland Park. Here, we have an unbelievable amount of shared belief. 82% of voters said yes, change the law to permit liquor license holders to serve in local government. There was a huge turnout of voters, over 16,000 in the general election 2 weeks ago. This initiative garnered the largest consensus in Lake County, and it is the second largest consensus in all of the state of Illinois. Yet when I, as your elected official, went to put this item on the agenda for tonight's meeting to the City Council so we could say, we heard you. Yes, we know you want inclusivity. Yes, we are following up immediately at your direction. I could only get one other council member, my colleague, Andres Tapia, to join me in asking that this initiative be added. Just so everyone understands, only the mayor or 3 council members can put an item on the agenda, and I couldn't even get 2. It's been close to 11 months of discussion. It's been researched by Corporation Counsel with extensive briefing and data from neighboring communities to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. Staff has spent countless hours trying to allay everyone's fears and worries, ethically and morally. The council had an entire committee of the whole discussion and revised its ethics guidelines. This council sets policy, and yet you all spoke loudly. So why put it off to the 2025 work plan? This is not a building or infrastructure project that needs funding, better weather, better planning. It's not dependent on more extensive research. Staff has the materials ready, the text of the amendment and the research that was compiled over the past 10 months. I've seen more complex issues, even regarding the liquor laws, sail through with a quick and comprehensive committee of the whole discussion. Why should we wait until April after the next election? This council studied the issue for almost a year, and it gave voters this, and the voters gave this council a mandate. A new council might have to educate themselves and reconsider it all over again. Why would the vigor of your voices need to die down when they are overwhelmingly united? How much does this council want to waste in additional resources, staff time, and taxpayer dollars to determine a question that 82% of the voters just told us they want? Are we that bureaucratic that we can't listen to the voters and pass the initiative now? We received 302 emails in the spring. 300 supported this change. This community gathered over 2,500 signatures to put this initiative on the ballot this summer, but council still thought the community might be divided. Then the voters supported this initiative at a rate of 82% in the fall. The community is not divided. They spoke loudly. I will not be a party to suppressing the voice of the voters. I will not ignore the unity and an overwhelming showing of support by Highland Parkers. They want results. The answer's simple. The numbers I read to you of emails, signers, and voters are not satisfied with waiting. The voters have spoken, and we as a council should listen and act. We've heard you, and we should respond with change now.
Councilmember Tapia.
And Mayor, I heard your comments earlier, but with all due respect, my point of view is going to be diametrically opposed in terms of what I believe is a responsibility of us as a council. When it comes to this issue, I feel we're watching a tennis match between common sense and the Mad Hatter. Here's a serve from Common Sense. What does it mean to be a representative of the people, which is what each of us is? As I reflected on this, it's simple. Being a representative of the people means holding a position of profound trust, accountability, and service. It's about acting as a steward to the public's will, reflecting their choices and priorities. A true representative is committed to honoring the people's voice, protecting their rights, and advocating for their needs, even when they're challenging and inconvenient. A common sense quote by a great person, a government of the people, by the people, for the people, means that leaders are not rulers, but reflections of the communities they serve. In essence, to be a representative is to be both a servant and a leader, acting swiftly and responsibly to the community's behalf. The people have placed their trust in us to reflect their will. And common sense also dictates the corollary that ignoring or delaying the people's will isn't just a breach of duty, it's a failure to honor their vote and their will. And what was that vote? The 82% of voters in our city came together and approved the referendum. They sent a clear message. So what's the Mad Hatter serve? From Alice in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter lives in a world that defies conventional logic. Constantly celebrating an birthday, he doesn't adhere to the common sense rules, leaving him and those around him in a state of confusion in things that are not logical. What we have here is a refusal to abide by the will of the people, is to see things through the looking glass of absurdity, a portal to a reverse topsy-turvy world where everything operates contrary to ordinary logic. Here we have an ordinance from early last century, one that the state of Illinois has indicated doesn't make sense. So they have given city councils like ours carte blanche to rescind it with a simple majority of city council. Then there's the actual will of the people that has been disregarded, given council members little over statistics, where the emails came 300 to 2, and let's remember again, 82% of the vote. Then those opposed to this say that they need more time to study the issue that has been in front of us since the beginning of 2024. And even then, they're not willing to take it up now, not next meeting, not next month, not next quarter. And further, they suggest as well, not only until the next election, but until it can be addressed in the 2025 work plan, and we're still to be determined date. What a rabbit hole this takes us through. Precedents. Do most legislatures, when faced with the will of the people through a referendum, what did they choose? Common sense aside, or the Mad Hatter's absurdity, at least obstruction, obfuscation, and procrastination? Here's what we know based on research that I did. In city councils across the US, most often when the people speak, leaders listen. In over 80% of the cases where referendum has been passed by 60% or more, municipalities take voter-approved measures and implement them as promised as a direct response to the clear will of their communities. This means that Highland Park is not joining 4 out of 5 municipalities who do the right thing. Some examples: Kansas City, voters passed a measure of community policing with a resounding majority. Within weeks, the city council acted, approving budget reallocation to support the people's priorities for safety. No delay, no backtracking, just a clear commitment to serve the will of the people. And that was a lot more complicated than what's in front of us. March of 2024, LA voters approved a measure mandating the city to implement its 2015 mobility plan, which includes enhancements to safer crosswalks, additional bike and bus lanes, and improved sidewalks. And within weeks, the city council initiated steps to fulfill the electorate's mandate. And it's not just in big cities. Smaller communities like Glen Ellen, where a measure to improve pedestrian safety was implemented within weeks of passing in a referendum. They did not say, let's wait for the next election. They understood that the people had already spoken. In these cases, the number one reason those seeking not to act right away is to say, we need more time to study the problem. Here in Highland Park, we seem to be following the same playbook. Now listen to the circular reasoning that we've been getting. We cannot rush into decisions on something the voters overwhelmingly approved. After nearly a full year of having this issue before us, we need more time. And so maybe after the next election, or perhaps when it fits into the future work plan, we'll take care of it. Further, in most cases, denial of the people's choice has led to frustration in cities that have not listened to their people, anger, and an erosion of trust in those elected to serve the people. Why put our population through this? The choice seems clear between common sense governance and Mad Hatter politics. We have the chance in our hands, in the wake of the referendum, to do the most obvious, common sense, straightforward process of enacting the people's will. Our role as representatives of the people is simply, purely, and respectfully to honor that.
So thank you both. Thank you both for your comments. Thank you both for your efforts. Thank you both for what you've been pushing forward and working on. We greatly appreciate what you've been discussing. I guess I just have a question for those who want an immediate vote. And that is, what has changed that has created this urgency? I mean, I understand people have. Wait, I'm sorry, let me finish if you don't mind. Absolutely. So, I'm so sorry. If I could ask all of you, we're being respectful. We're all neighbors, we're one community, and I think it's important that we go forward as one community. So my question to you is, the work plan hasn't changed. The council's commitment to hearing what the community has asked hasn't changed. And the timeline that we communicated immediately after the election hasn't changed. So what is causing this urgency, other than people have spoken, we want to respond? Because we've had other situations where people have spoken very vociferously. I can talk to you about the boaters, I can talk to you about Buc-ee's, I can talk to you about the high school parking lot, whatever you want to talk about. There have been plenty of other situations where this community has been really kind of, activated. So I'm curious to know, what is this urgency for
Well, first of
taking
all,
action?
and I don't want to cut you off. Are you?
I'm done,
Okay.
yeah.
So do you mind if I answer? Okay. So first of all, this time urgency began in January when this came up. In February, February 12th, we had our meeting. We decided to vote. We did not have a full council. We had a 3-3. There was one vote held on this measure. And from that time immemorial, we have received emails, we have received requests, and we have had innumerable interactions with the public as a council and individually. And people have been asking for change. So the city did act. And what we did was we had research done. We had an amendment drafted in order to propose it. This is not a measure that's going to cost money. This is not a measure that's dependent on all sorts of new facts that might come in. When we wanted to put in a pour wall for liquor, we changed the law in one meeting after we canceled a liquor commission meeting. Okay, this has been studied to the hilt, and the amount of resources that we have put in has been amazing. But what's more important, and to answer your question, because I can't stand when someone doesn't answer a question, what has happened is that on November 5th, we had an election, and it was an election that everybody in this country, one way or another on some level, was involved in. And many, many people in this community came out to vote on this issue. And they wanted their voices to be heard. And they wanted their voices to be heard because several members of this council said, we're not sure how the public really feels. So now that they've told us in the privacy and protection of their voting booth, so they didn't feel pressured by a large group going one way, they've told us how they feel. They have underscored how they feel. And frankly, whether there's elections coming out and people who have been denied the right to run in those elections upcoming, it doesn't change the fact that from a Democratic point of view, there's a whole group of people who are being denied their rights as residents in this community. And that right is the ability to run for office. And and that's really the main thing that's changed. I think when the voters speak loudly, I've felt since February that we should listen to it. But frankly, at least this way we have confirmation of where the numbers are. And the voters' voices were loud. And because of that, I think we have a duty. Frankly, if we wanted to speak our own interests and make it easier so we'd have fewer people running, or maybe someone who might be, wonderfully qualified but unable to run, I wouldn't be pushing for this. It'd be against my own interest since I'm up for re-election. But the reason I'm pushing it right now is because it's the right thing to do, and because the people in this town have spoken very loudly and uniformly.
Well, thank you.
Mayor,
Sure.
and the most obvious thing that's changed is the referendum. That is the major thing. It just happened, the 5th of November. We have the data. And my concern as a policymaker and as a community leader, along with you all, is it's not just the particulars of the policy, which we have debated significantly and studied, and that case has already been made, but it's the emotional health of our community. Why are we keep dragging our community through this, particularly when the community has said, stop, this is what we want, let's move on. And I think it's irresponsible for us to not care for our community's emotional health, aside in addition to the policy merits. And I think it's within our power to really release our community from this and move on.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for asking. Sorry, what?
Thank you for asking, Mayor.
You bet. So I think we all deeply care about the community's mental health. I don't think there's a single person up here who doesn't share that concern. Geeta, I just want to get confirmation from you. It is on the 2025 work plan, yeah?
Yes, Mayor, it is.
And we have 2 meetings left this year, if I remember correctly, or do we have 3? We have the 25th and we have the one in December.
Yep.
And maybe
And that's it, the 2.
right.
Okay, so we will be discussing this in 2025, and we appreciate everybody's input, and it looks like, I'm sure several of you have comments that you want to share when we have comments from the public. We're not there yet, but thank you. I look forward to a great conversation when we talk this through in 2025. Thank you, Geeta. And with that, I'm going to continue with business from the city staff. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mayor. We have 3 reports. One, I would just like to give the highlights of several items that are on the omnibus agenda. There are 15 items that are all recommended for approval as drafted. Number 1 pertains to the Second Amendment to our agreement with Scott Levenfeld, who serves as the city's hearing officer. This amendment officially appoints him as the city's ethics enforcement officer pursuant to a policy discussion held with the City Council at a committee of the whole meeting earlier this year, citing the role of city's corporation counsel as well as Mr. Levenfeld. I received a question from Councilmember Littewer just to confirm. So there is an annual report that's due, provided that cases are reviewed, and that annual report would be provided to us, if not by the end of the year, then 30 days after the end of the year, depending on, when they're reviewing matters. Item number 2 pertains to a renewal of the special service area for the Central Business District. This is one of many economic development tools that are provided for in state law that the city takes advantage of to support a wide array of initiatives to support businesses in the district and improve the economic vitality of the community. The tax is imposed on businesses within that geographic area, and then we as a city work with the property owners and manage the SSA. This particular SSA is for 3 years, and the budget is $110,000 each year. Items 3 through 7 pertain to either exterior improvement grants or the food and beverage grants to support existing businesses or new businesses in the community. All include detailed staff reports, and again, all recommended for approval. And then 8 and 9 pertain to the public display policy that was discussed at the committee of the whole meeting in May. The second resolution on the agenda provides for the approval of annual holiday displays and decorations and the promotion of local civic activities that are not city-sponsored events. So what is drafted on the agenda is what's recommended for approval. If there's additional entities that wish to have items being considered by the city, we will bring forward subsequent resolutions for your formal consideration throughout the year. And then just 2 more things. Number 10 is the 2024 tax levy for collection in 25. Formal approval of that levy will be considered at next week's meeting, but there's a detailed staff report in the packet, and this has been discussed at a number of different budget workshops. And then lastly, item number 15 is a resolution approving a plat of subdivision pertaining to 41 and 45 South Deer Park Drive. The legal description of the restrictive covenant includes a comment indicating that staff will provide a legal description of the proposed Lot 1 before recording. And I just want to make clear that the restrictive covenant should apply to both lots on the property, not just one.
Thank you.
And then if we can go to the next slide. We invite the public to join the city and officially kick off this most wonderful time of the year this Saturday, November 23rd at Port Clinton Square. The mayor and council will light the holiday tree and menorah at 4:45. The public will have an opportunity to meet Santa and Hanukkah Harry, listen to favorite seasonal tunes from the Frozen Robin Carolers, and enjoy sweet candy canes under the dazzling holiday lights, which are just beautiful. We will be giving away a limited number of Highland Park branded reusable shopping bags, and of course, encouraging people to continue to support all local businesses. And then want to just announce to the public, we will be introducing this week another update of the Place of Remembrance. So what we've documented here are the objectives of the Place of Remembrance working group. We have a working group that has been set to guide this process for establishing a permanent place of remembrance. And then all updates from the working group are provided to the City Council. The City Council will make the final determination on that place. So those are the objectives. They're on our website. And then coming up this week and continuing through January 31st, we invite the public to provide us feedback pertaining to 3 locations that are being considered. These 3 locations were narrowed down after a series of a number of different sites that we evaluated. Overall, we're looking for the public's feedback. We are using a trauma-informed approach. We've used that term regularly. It has been provided to us based on education and feedback by the Department of Justice, Office of Victims of Crime. So throughout this whole planning process, we're using this trauma-informed approach. We very much are interested in feedback from next of kin, victims, the entire community, as well as really anyone who's been impacted by the shooting that we all endured 2 years ago. So the public feedback survey is going to be available through the end of January. And again, stay tuned for further information in our e-news. And then also on our website, we have a really a robust, comprehensive list of communication modalities that we're using to roll out this public feedback survey, just really to ensure that everyone is welcome and invited to give us their feedback. And then we are emphasizing throughout this whole entire process that we understand even talking about the place of remembrance can be very traumatic for individuals. And so crisis assistance is available to individuals 24 hours a day, 7 days of the week. So the information is located on this slide here, or again, available on our website. And that concludes our staff report.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Could you now introduce the next item on our agenda, business from the public?
Yes, this is an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on a topic that is within the council's purview and jurisdiction, but is not listed in another location on the agenda. If you'd like to speak about a matter that is listed on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that agenda item is called, and we will give you an opportunity to speak then. If your matter is on the omnibus or consent agenda, please let us know if you would like us to remove that matter from the consolidated list so you can speak about it. Please be aware that business from the public is not intended to be an open forum for dialogue or engagement with members of the City Council. Rather, it is intended as an opportunity to make comments to the City Council. Please do not expect a response from anyone tonight. If appropriate, questions may be directed to me as the city manager or other city staff. All comments should be directed to the mayor and City Council. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. We request that speakers refrain from throwing objects or using noisemakers, and that the public not applaud or make other comments after any speaker. We ask that everyone be respectful, civil, and non-repetitive.
Thank you. Good
I'm going
evening.
to talk about Lake County Forest Preserves.
Please share your name for the record.
Oh, my name is Carl Lambrick. Lake County Forest Preserve is an organization which is following the federal and state governments. They spend more money on servicing debt than paying employees. That's quite serious. I support abortion for the life of the mother. Brad Schneider, our congressman, supports abortion to infanticide. That's rather extreme. He voted in 2023, and every member of the city council I gave it to except the new young lady. Now we have a very serious problem in Highland Park. It reminds me of Putin in Russia. in a much smaller scale, but nevertheless the same. He didn't like people who wanted to run against him. That didn't favor him very well. This is not what I call a fair election. 82% of us voted for the liquor license and people. And I think this is not something that we should avoid, postpone. It's time now. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to reiterate what I said to you at the last meeting, and that is that infanticide is illegal, and nobody is supporting infanticide.
That's not true. Read what I sent. I sent it to you. He was one, all Illinois Democrat congressmen did the same, so it's not unusual. But not every Democrat congressman did.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Richard Rosenberg. I'm a resident, and I'd like to speak to the liquor law. I think in many of the meetings I've been to, everything's pretty much been said, except, Mayor, you question what is the urgency at this point. The urgency is that every day that this goes on, the system is becoming more and more poisoned by the lack of recognition of what is clear, the clear desire of the people, losing faith in the ability of the local government to do things. You know, back in February, people expressed the idea of personal animus as the reason for not changing the law. Well, Hubler is now gone, and things have been investigated to death, and the only thing left standing is the personal animus. There's no other reason why. Attorney Bloomberg, I'll ask you, you don't have to respond. However, we spoke months ago. You said you needed to investigate. Has there been any reason through anybody's investigation as to why this law cannot be changed? There is none. You are not acting as an attorney on the board here, okay? You are a truth seeker. You're not supposed to be taking a position and sticking with it as best you can, regardless of how unpopular or personal feelings. You're here as a truth seeker, okay? And there has been no reason put forward as to why this cannot be changed.
So I'm going to respond to that.
Okay, can we stop the clock then? Thank you.
Respond to that, please?
Sure.
You're correct. The reason I voted against it last time was that I considered it a vote based on a personal issue to benefit an individual. I'm now being asked to reconsider that vote. I think that's a reasonable request. I don't think that the referendum told me anything I didn't already know. It was pretty evident sitting through all the meetings that we had that a large majority of the community wants this law changed. As I've said under other circumstances many times, while I consider the number of people in the community on one side or the other, it is not a determinative factor for me.
Okay.
So I have submitted a number of questions anticipating that we are going to revisit this. I expect that we are going to revisit this, which the mayor mentioned in her comments tonight and has stated in her response to the various emails that we've received today. We're going to reconsider this. And I expect to reconsider it openly, but in anticipation of that, I sent a number of questions to the city manager that were not answered. And with respect, all due respect to my two colleagues who spoke earlier, it has not been investigated to death. We got a fair amount of information on the current state of the state law, but very little information on why that law was passed in the first place, and very little information on why, when the law was amended to allow smaller communities to amend the law enacted by the state of Illinois was not just repealed as to all communities. There are a number of other questions I have asked that may be answered by corporation counsel. You're correct. I'm not acting as an attorney on this board, and I'm not doing my own research. I want my corporation counsel to ask the legal issues. And I've asked questions that will have to be answered by staff in terms of the potential ramifications that a change in the law may have and how we may wish to change it. So that's my response to you, which is that I'm willing to reconsider this, but I'm not willing to do it tonight.
As a guest, I would say the reason the smaller communities are allowed to make the change.
I'm not going to have a debate with you. I've told you, I've answered your question. If you have further comments, I'm interested in listening to them. But you asked me a question, and I've answered it directly.
Here's my comment. I spoke to the Liquor Commission, as I explained 6 months ago, as to why this was passed in the first place. And the reason was, they didn't want somebody with a personal interest sitting on the council who could veto the request for a liquor license by a competitor down the block. They didn't want Bar A, whose owner may sit on the council, to veto a request from Bar B for a bar down the street. Now, that was told to me by the Illinois Liquor Commission, and you were supplied with the name, you were supplied with the information, and I can get it to you again. And that is the answer to your question. Mayor, the only sad thing is, I don't think you're going to run in 2027. So we're not going to have the opportunity to vote you out, because you're not going to run, and that's pretty clear. So we won't have the opportunity to show you what we think. Ms. Stone, Bertie tells me that you think you're going to be running, that the mayor's going to pave the way for you, okay? Fat chance. I don't think that's going to happen, because people are not going to forget the way you're voting and what you're doing. That's it.
My name is Faye Rosenberg. I am a resident and a business owner in Highland Park. First of all, what I witnessed here is gobsmacking, once again. To say that you value public opinion is laughable and a sham, and you keep saying it, but it's obvious that you don't. On this week before Thanksgiving, I'm certainly grateful for many things: my family, my friends, my dogs, my food, and my vote. My vote is something I don't take for granted. It means representation, and it's my voice. Since the mayor and council members Stone, Blumberg, Ross, and Bruckman didn't see fit to honor our votes to place and keep Jeff Hubler on our city council, we were forced to bring it to the constituents, to which this council answers to. You do answer to the constituents. While technically non-binding, this referendum to change the liquor law clause won in a landslide. 82% of your constituents want this law changed, and they want it changed now. No more dilatory tactics, which you are engaging in, and no more revenge politics, which is what is going on here. To do otherwise is tantamount to voter suppression, and it's the antithesis of what a democracy stands for. Our town is at a standstill, and it's becoming a laughingstock because of the antics of the mayor and the named council members. So much of this could have been long avoided. A year and a boatload of money and time was spent on researching this issue. You got all the answers you wanted. To delay it any further is baloney. Safeguards will be in place once amended, and there is zero downside. The downside to a failure to act now is a legacy of mistrust and bad faith on the part of the individuals who have held this issue hostage. And you all know who you are, and it's a shame, and it's a disgrace. And you have tainted what everybody thinks of you because you're not trying to mend what is going on.
Mayor, since I was mentioned, I just want to state again for the record, on February 12th, there was a vote, and I voted to change the amendment, and comments about my not having done that are just not accurate.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Richard Becker. I'm a Highland Park business owner and architect. who has served the Highland Park Preservation Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals for a combined total of 12 years of public service. I'm here to speak about this mayor and this council's stubborn intransigence to amending our Prohibition-era antiquated liquor licensing law. In the election 2 weeks ago, a resounding 82% of Highland Park's voters directed you to amend our local liquor licensing law, which presently excludes a city council member from holding a liquor license. This law seems to be ignored pretty much everywhere else in the state where people have stopped driving Model Ts. You tell us this issue requires additional study and can't be put on the agenda until April of 2025. You say this after studying this topic for over a year and along the way, no doubt spending many thousands of taxpayer dollars on legal fees. This entire matter is a stain on Highland Park, and you have permitted this to happen. The optics are terrible, making it appear that there is some type of conspiracy afoot. And Mayor Rotering, I just have two comments on things you said tonight here. One of them was you reminded us that this is a living document that you have for your work plan for 2025. I would just remind you, if it is indeed a living document, your agenda can change and you can move this up on the schedule. Also, to your comment that you were asking what the urgency is, I would ask what the delay is. I would flip it and say, why are you putting this off? The entire matter, please stop gaslighting on this issue and address this now. Please respect the will of Highland Park's voters. You work for them. You can and should do better. I'm not sure if you're aware in this group how you project kind of a contempt for the community by your inaction on it. I know you maybe don't see it that way, but I'm telling you, if you self-reflect, I think you would see there's a contempt that's being pushed out, and it's visible to everyone that I speak to. Maybe you don't see it, but the Highland Parkers do see it. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Center.
Hi, John.
How are you? Council members, as each of you know, I'm officially running in the April 25 election for the seat previously held by Jeff Hubler. For context, I only met Jeff recently. My comments today are not rooted in personal relationships, but in echoing the voices of the public, the very people you were all elected to serve. I stand here today to express my deep disappointment as a resident and prospective council member in how this current council is addressing an issue that has garnered overwhelming public support. Being a council member is a privilege that comes with the immense responsibility of representing the best interest of over 30,000 residents. I understand that fulfilling this responsibility is rarely straightforward. Issues like the recent debate over University Ave are often divisive, with strong and emotionally charged opinions on both sides. This matter is not divisive. The referendum in question received 82% support from the community, a clear and overwhelming mandate. Jeff earned the most votes of any council member in 2023, yet he was effectively removed by the council due to an outdated law directly defying the will of the people. The referendum reflects the public's call to modernize the outdated liquor license law, paving the way for positive change, vibrancy, and transparency, values I deeply champion and that Highland Park residents have clearly embraced. Mayor, while I appreciate your commentary and wanting the council to follow process and focus on priorities, the council has had ample time to address the issue, and each delay disregards the voices of the community who entrusted you all with this responsibility. It takes just 3 council members, as we know, to bring an item into the agenda for vote. I want to thank Annette and Andres for recognizing the will of the people and working to bring this matter forward. To the rest of you, what's your rationale for continuing to delay? What is your excuse? I fear that some of you may be prioritizing political strategy or personal agendas over your duty to represent the community. If that's the case, it is deeply concerning, both to me as a prospective candidate and to the residents you serve. The frustration among our residents is palpable. People are watching the council's inaction and wondering why their voices are being ignored. This is not how responsible governance operates, and it is not how I plan to lead if elected. I implore you, set aside self-interest and listen to the people of Highland Park. To the public, I want to make this clear. As a future council member, I pledge to always prioritize the will of our community, even when doing so may not align with my personal views. I urge you all to do the same exact thing right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Peter Sarita. I've been a resident of Highland Park for 37 years. I've only spoken in front of this body one other time, but I think this is important enough tonight to say something to the council. And I'd like to start off by thanking each of the council members for their service. I know that it takes a lot of time to serve as a council member, and it's a big commitment by all of you. So I'd just like to start off by thanking you. But I'd like to talk to the issue that's under hand here. There can be a subtle difference between taking a stand against the majority out of principle and simply getting locked into a position because you can't figure out any viable way out. No one wants to be seen as caving into pressure, and it's the rare person who wants to admit that they were wrong. But you don't have to admit that you were wrong. All you have to do is accept the fact that the community that you took an oath to represent is in a vastly different place from you. You haven't convinced them during all this time and over all these meetings. And in fact, you and your constituents seem to be moving it further and further apart as time goes on. They feel very strongly about this issue, and that's not going to change. They feel that you've nullified an election, and they believe that they've been wronged by you. A viable leader has to be able to either convince his or her electorate to take a position, or failing that, accept the will of the overwhelming majority. It may be legally feasible for a while to ignore the views of the voters, but it can't go on forever, and it's not right. In fact, now people are going to think that you are nullifying their vote for a second time, this time on the referendum. And they're going to think that by further delaying consideration of the matter, you're just buying time until you can get a more favorable result in the next election. They don't believe your argument that, quote, we need more time to study it. In other words, you're making it worse, not better. But there's an easy way out of all of this. Just stand up and say, okay, you want this? Well, go ahead and do it. I tried to convince you and I couldn't. I'm disappointed, but it is what it is. Now let's buckle down and work on getting real stuff done for the community. People would respect you for it. You'd show that you're a bigger, more honorable person than they thought. I really think they'd be impressed, and it would be a big step in unifying our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Levi Kane. Man, if you guys miss my closing arguments, make sure you go to amendhp.com/story and click on the closing arguments. I got the split screen video feed going on to keep eyes on Nancy, and the look on her face, the amount of guilt is just absolutely priceless. Anyway, man, you guys in the festival are just stroking each other so hard over there, aren't you? You got the Three Stooges, Shep, and Sideshow Bob over here, going against 82% of their constituents. When we all say, we want this, they say, nope, not gonna happen, not in my city, because I'm a pathological, opportunistic saboteur. This is not about Jeff. We clearly realize that because Jeff is not running, right? This is not a personal thing. People keep saying this is pointing at personal vendetta. It's not. It's pointing at them and the festival, because the festival knows that once restaurant owners go on the city council, they lose control. And we know Nancy's in bed with them. Anyway, we got a new plan coming along, and it is the preparation, yes, new plan. Preparations, plans A through G. They've been rejected by the circus here, so I'm coming with Plan H, and I feel that the preparation of Plan H feels quite good on the whole for everyone. Quite good on the whole, yes. The plan is called the New Accountability and Necessary Change Yielding Sustainable Urban Community Key Solutions. Better known as Nancy Sucks. Thanks, guys. That was a good one. Anyway, all aspects of the current revenue plans remain the same, except we'll increase Sideshow Bob's salary from $82,000 to $150,000, and now we'll reallocate the funds to the mayor's salary to be at about $110,000. And yes, that goes for Nancy, but it also goes for future mayors. I know nobody wants to pay Nancy that much, but this brings money in to allow for actual real talent with real people, real ideas, not losers like them. Anyway, also caveat to the Nancy Sucks plan. If your name starts or ends with Nancy Rotering, Kim Stone, Tony Blumberg, or Brissa, or Joel Bruckman, and I say Joel because the dude postured up to me and tried to fight me in the middle of food trucks. If your headlights exceed 1,500 lumens, in which these LED lights typically exceed 2,000, you will be required to wear this shirt when you go out in public that displays that you are a pathological, opportunistic saboteur. You got to wear that, especially when you go to the grocery store, Blumberg. Anyway, details on the Nancy Sucks plan can be found at amendhp.com/plan. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and you suck.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to be heard?
Apologize for having to come up after that. What? Pardon? Yes. Erwin Bernstein. Mayor Rottering, council members Blumberg, Stone, Bruckman, each of you have failed the community. Your arrogance has been a stick in the eye. You've demonstrated a total lack of respect for the voters of Highland Park. Mayor, you asked what's changed. You received answers. Since January, the community has been asking you, what is the issue? And you've chosen not to respond. We need to study. Over $50,000 has been spent in studies. This is not requiring any person to be elected. It's a request that the voters, not the city council, be allowed to choose who represents them. It's not about ethics, because the state of Illinois already imposes a greater ethical requirement on a liquor license holder than it does on any sitting member of the council. It's not about ethics, because you just updated our city's ethics policies, and you finalized implementation of that program just tonight. On election day, we, the people of Highland Park, delivered an unmistakable message. Amend the liquor license laws. Allow our citizens, not the mayor, not the council, to decide who represents them. Your question, what has changed, leads me to ask back, is there a hidden personal agenda that you refuse to articulate? When you took office, each of you swore an oath to serve the community and the citizens. The public office is a position of trust. The community expects you to act in our best interests, serve the people, not your own personal agendas. If there is a reason, please share it. If there's a concern, it's been a year. We want to study it. What is it that you want to study? We've discussed ethics. It's not about Jeff Hubler. Jeff Hubler is not running. I have a theory. You're concerned that someone with a liquor license might be more popular than some of the candidates that you're supporting. Earlier, we started this presentation, we started this meeting praising the Corteses and the work that they've done in the community. They're not eligible to run for city council. Why? Because they have a liquor license, but they also run a wonderful business and they're great supporters to the community. Honor your oath, uphold the trust placed in you, serve this community with the integrity our trust in you demands. If you're unwilling to respect the overwhelming will of the people, unable to articulate a reasonable explanation for delay, move aside, make room for new council members committed to honoring the will of we the people. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wishing to be heard?
Michael Buss. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, and fellow citizens. I am here tonight as a proud and concerned resident of Highland Park, deeply frustrated by the repeated disregard for the voices of the people in this community. Time and again, we have spoken out through petitions, public comments, and clear majorities on pressing issues. Yet the will of the people has been ignored. Madam Mayor and council members, I urge you to reflect on the role you were elected to serve. Your positions exist to represent the people of Highland Park, to listen and to act on behalf of the community. Refusing to address issues we have overwhelmingly decided upon is not leadership, it is obstruction. What purpose does this serve? Delaying action does not make the issue disappear. All it does is prolong the inevitable while eroding trust in your ability to lead. Highland Park deserves better than inaction and avoidance. We have an election coming soon, and the people will remember. For those who have chosen not to listen, not to act, and not to lead, this is your chance to change course. You can still demonstrate that you respect this community and value the responsibilities of your office. But if you continue to ignore the voices in this room and across Highland Park, we will hold you accountable. Elections are the ultimate measure of accountability, and change will come. Those unwilling to do the work of the people will face the consequences. It's not too late to choose a better path. Work with us, not against us. Make decisions that reflect the will and the best interests of the people you serve. This is not about personal agendas or politics. It's about the future of Highland Park. We are watching, we are engaged, and we will not go back. Highland Park deserves leadership that listens, acts, and builds trust. Let's make that happen together.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard?
It's Kevin Colither. Just to begin with, I'm a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals appointed by this body, and nothing I say here tonight reflects on anything of any of my colleagues on the zoning board or the board itself. Abner Vickner once said, democracy is a verb. The question is what is the action taking place? And for me, I see gaming. Might be a chess game, could be chutes and ladders. It could be hide and seek. I'm not sure what the game is, but it certainly includes a delay tactic that reminds me of, for those of you who are old enough to remember, Dean Smith's UNC basketball team with its four corners to wind out the clock for about half a game, generally, if he had a good lead. But as we're playing this game, which has been going on since January, with various sides making various moves, checkmate for one member of city council who was forced to resign because he had been backed into a corner. We need to remember that, as Thomas Jefferson said, the will of the people is the only legitimate foundation for any government. 88% is a solid foundation. It's a more solid foundation than any building built in Highland Park. We do not need to wait until after the April elections for this to be discussed. The people have spoken. They have clearly communicated. As I was circulating petitions to get in the race in April, this issue came up consistently. And the most interesting question was the individual who asked me, but what if all 7 members had liquor licenses? And my response was, that's the will of the people. That is the will of the people. We need to expand democracy in this country. You are tightening the belt. You are acting like Governor DeSantis in Florida, who has fired democratically elected state's attorneys, who have then subsequently won re-election. because the people said, you as the governor should not have that ability. So a wise, what I thought was wise, candidate for Congress once said, it is time to elect a leader who has the courage to stand up to special interests and do what's right for all of us. That was Nancy Rotering in 2016. That special interest is your own interests, and you better stand up and look in the mirror and say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard? Okay, you guys are leaving. Anybody want to be heard? Okay, thank you. Mr. Buzz, thanks for your comments. This isn't about personal agendas and politics, and we look forward to a great conversation in 2025. And with that, we will now continue with our scheduled business. Items 1 through 15 have been grouped together for omnibus consideration. And I am seeking a motion to approve items 1 through 15.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on items 1 through 15? Any from the public? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Brockman. Aye. Councilmember Ross.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays, and those 15 items have been approved unanimously by this council. Under other business, we are having a public hearing related to the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget for the city of Highland Park, a home rule municipality, county of Lake, state of Illinois, pursuant to Chapter 65 of the Illinois Compiled Statutes and Chapter 31 of the Highland Park Code. I hereby call to order the public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 proposed city budget. Pursuant to statute and ordinance, notice of this public hearing was published November 7, 2024 in the Highland Park News. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Brockman. Aye. Oh, present.
Here.
Present. You're good. Councilmember Tapia.
You want Russ?
Oh, yes, Councilmember Ross. I'm so sorry.
You're here.
Here, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Councilmember Stone. Here. Councilmember Bloomberg.
Here.
Mayor Rotering.
Here. I now declare the public hearing on the fiscal year. Please leave the doors open under the Open Meetings Act. They need to be open. Thanks so much. I hereby declare the public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 budget open. I will now turn this public hearing over to City Manager Gita Newkirk and Finance Director Christy McCallum for the budget presentation.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. It's our pleasure to present at this public hearing the proposed fiscal year 25 balanced operating budget. We say that very proudly because it's certainly not an easy task to do, especially in this economic climate, to bring together a proposed $131 million budget. The budget is our principal policy document for the city. It does reflect the city's mission, priorities, goals, objectives. It outlines what we're planning to do in the upcoming fiscal year, how much is budgeted, and certainly as a staff and as a council, we review this document regularly, making sure it is guiding us as we are moving forward. As part of the public hearing this evening, these are the bullet points that we will share with you as part of this presentation. And then if we go to the next slide, Aaron. So certainly, as the council knows, we start this process in the spring. So it is a long, thoughtful, comprehensive process. We have a number of neighborhood meetings that we coordinate with our government partners. This is an opportunity for the public to engage with the chief elected official, as well as other elected officials and chief administrative staff from all of the units of governments that are representing Highland Park. So we really appreciate these meetings. And certainly that isn't the only time for the public to reach out to us. We do have a number of workshops that are held throughout the year where we are working in a transparent, open way so the public is aware of what we are planning for the upcoming fiscal year. We have regular committee of the whole meetings where there's policy discussion, and then all the programs, objectives are outlined in the proposed budget. So this is a condensed schedule, which also is included in the budget. And then if we go to the next slide, When we meet as part of the special workshop with the mayor and council in the spring, one of the first things that we do is we review the mission of the city. We want to make sure that this is reflective of the policy direction that we want to undertake in the upcoming fiscal year. So what's outlined on this screen is the mission that's going to guide us for fiscal year 25. It has changed slightly over the years. This happens to be the same mission for 24. It has served us well, so it'll continue to guide us in the upcoming year. And then every year in the spring, we review the city's greatest priorities. And we have, again, made changes to those over the years. And so what's listed there is the second bullet point are the priorities that are guiding us in the upcoming fiscal year. Whenever we do staff presentations, we see the priorities that are listed on the PowerPoint screen. And when we are looking at new endeavors, one of the first questions that we ask ourselves is, do these align with both the mission and the priorities as our foundation for moving forward? Again, we are pleased to present the 25 budget as a balanced operating budget with operating revenues expected to exceed operating expenditures by over $19 million. Included in the budget is revenue of $99 million, which is slightly lower than the preceding year. And for the last 2 years, we have had capital improvements in excess of $34 million. So this year, we're reflecting $36 million for 25, and in 24, we have $34 million of capital projects. This includes work for infrastructure, facilities, and equipment. And again, this really just aligns with one of our core priorities, certainly of infrastructure investment. And then our proposed capital funding is from a combination of operating revenues, grants, tax increment financing, debt financing, and $6 million of strategic fund drawdowns of excess reserves pursuant to city policy. So when we take a look at all of our funds, we do have a multi-year thoughtful process where we are drawing down our reserves to meet established targets. And so we're continue to work in that way. So at this time, I am pleased and proud to introduce our new finance director. Certainly a familiar face. She served as our deputy finance director for many years and was recently promoted. It has been an extremely smooth transition. And so we're so pleased that she is guiding the city's finances and operations. And then just a special thanks to the mayor and city council for the policy direction and the feedback that you provide us all year long. Your policy interests, although you may disagree, you are all making policy interests based on the best interest of the community. And so we are appreciative and thoughtful for your sound policy direction, your time that you spend on city business, and your support of city staff. And then just a special thank you to all of our senior staff and all of our employees representing the organization. We have 277 employees that are committed to this organization, that live and breathe our mission statement that is before them every day. And just really, it's a pleasure and honor to work with all of them.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's an honor to present the proposed 2025 budget to you all this evening. We're going to start with the 2025 proposed revenue. The charts at the top show the trend in the total city revenue and the operating revenue. 2025 operating revenue of $99 million is expected to be just slightly lower than 2024, with 2024 expected to be 3% higher than 2023. Operating revenue does exclude bond proceeds, debt and tax increment financing levies, asset sales, and capital-related grants, reimbursements, and transfers between funds. 2025 total revenue of $125 million is expected to be 4% lower than 2024, with 2024 expected to be 20% higher than 2023. The charts at the bottom of the page show the city revenue by fund and by total revenue source. This tells us where the proposed revenue comes from and what funds the revenue gets spent out of. The diversification of revenue sources really demonstrates the city's policy and commitment to maintaining diversified revenue sources in order to ensure the costs of the city services to be as low as possible to the property taxpayer. Charges for services, the property sales, and other taxes make up 74% of the revenue sources. The general, water, and sewer funds account for 66% of the revenue. There are several assumptions that are supporting the 2025 proposed revenue. Each budget year, city staff reviews fees and taxes to ensure they are fair and comparable with other communities and support a consistent high level of service. The budget includes changes for property taxes, water rates, sewer rates, and several other smaller fees discussed during the August 26th budget workshop and subsequent requests from recommendations by City Council. The city's property tax levy is approximately 8% of a resident's total property tax bill. The city's water rate continues to be one of the lowest in the Chicagoland area. And in addition to operating impacts, total revenue is impacted by non-operating revenue changes, including changes in transfers between funds, that is net of changes in capital grants, reimbursements, debt financing, which is all consistent with the city's 10-year capital improvement plan. And it also is affected by increases in tax increment financing revenue, consistent with market changes of equalized assessed value, or EAV. The city and library portions of a resident's tax bill are 7.6 cents and 2.4 cents per dollar, respectively. The largest portion of the city's 7.6 cents pays for public safety. The proposed combined city and library 2024 total levy is 8.1% higher than the 23 combined tax extension. This includes a city levy of $18.3 million, which is 7.9% higher than the 23 tax extension, and a library levy of $5.8 million, which is 8.9% higher than the 2023 tax extension. The tax levy includes $21 million for the combined city and library aggregate levy, which is 4.4% higher than the 2023 tax extension, and $3.2 million for the combined city and library debt service levy, which is 41% higher than the 2023 tax extension. The total combined increase is roughly $125 to a city taxpayer based on an average of a $500,000 equalized assessed value of that taxpayer's property. Proposed expenditures of $131 million are 15% lower than the prior year. 73% of the city's expenditures are dedicated to public safety and public works services. Given the most significant portion of the city expenditures is for provisions of services to residents, 59% of expenditures are due to personnel costs and contractual services. 27% is dedicated to capital improvements, and the remainder is for debt service, transfers between funds, and other costs. There are now several assumptions supporting the proposed expenditures. The 2025 proposed operating budget is an increase of only 1.4% compared to 2024, even though inflationary pressures have increased the prices of goods and services required for the provisions of services at a much higher rate. Staffing is budgeted for 272.4 full-time equivalent staff members, which is 0.6 of a full-time FTE lower than 2024. Changes reflect the city's staffing approach to provide a high level of service in the most efficient and effective manner. Consistent with the compensation plan, collective bargaining requirements, and higher insurance costs due to national insurance market trends are also impactful. Capital improvements, as Gita said, of $36 million are for infrastructure, facilities, and equipment. $32 million of capital is dedicated to infrastructure, and $4 million is dedicated to facility improvements and fleet and equipment replacements. When you look at these capital investments, the capital funding continues to be 71% pay-as-you-go and 29% debt financed. Contractual services and materials and supplies of $31 million are expected to be 5% lower than the prior year. The 2024 budget included investment in business development, which included the boutique incentive program, and that program is being evaluated in 2020. It's being evaluated further in 2025. Debt service expenditures of $8 million are 23% higher than prior year. Debt service is consistent with the city's payment schedule for previously issued and planned debt. Transfers of $7 million are for capital and dispatch costs, with reimbursement from the water, motor fuel tax, enhanced E911, capital, sustainability, and general funds going to the general capital and debt service funds for expenditures that are planned in those specific funds. The budget also includes $9.5 million of city contributions to public safety pension funds, and $479,000 of city contributions to the IMRF pension fund for IMRF employees. The total fund balances at the end of 2025 are projected to be $54 million, with the general fund projected at $33 million. Strategic fund drawdowns of excess reserves in several funds netting $6 million are proposed for capital improvements pursuant to the city's approved finance policy. All fund balances meet or exceed the city's fund balance targets, and fund balances in excess of targets have been accumulated in expectation of capital improvements in the city's 10-year capital improvement program. All funds approach the city fund balance targets by the end of that 10-year period. So then we have next steps. On November 25th, the City Council will consider the 2025 budget, and we will hold a tax levy public hearing. And on December 26th, the City Council will consider the tax levy adoption. That concludes the 2025 proposed budget public hearing. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you, Christy. I appreciate it. Thank you to your team, to your staff, and Levi, there will be a chance for public comment later, so I'll let you know. Just want to tell you how much we appreciate the careful and deliberative process that you've used to help us maintain our AAA bond rating. I know that a lot of your decisions are based on making sure that we're able to have that highest rating, which only a handful of cities in Illinois still have. Appreciate this budget that provides a diversified revenue stream that has an efficient and cost-effective approach to spending. I still appreciate our continued investment in infrastructure with a capital improvement plan budget of $36 million, which is significant compared to where it was historically prior to all of us being up here. I'm looking forward to the library's expansion, and just want to thank you for taking the time to meet with all of us and to walk through, since April, basically, a budget that really carefully reflects the priorities of the City Council. So thank you. Councilmember Stone, I know you had your hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy and Gita and the whole team. It's just exceptional, the work that you do on this budget, and it takes the better part of the year to create the budget. So I know you're going to have a few minutes of break before you start next year's budget. To me, this is the job of the City Council. We have a balanced budget. We have a AAA bond rating, which reduces our cost to borrow. We've got a 10-year capital plan because we are overachievers. Most cities have a 5-year capital plan. So we really are able to plan ahead to maintain and improve the city's facilities and our infrastructure. I'm especially pleased that we've prioritized greenhouse gas emissions reductions. We've included an increased percentage of electric vehicles in our fleet. We are improving energy efficiency. We're adding solar to the water plant and doing other things in this budget. We've also completed the new Ravinia Fire Station this year. We moved the senior center to the newly renovated 1201 Park Avenue. As the mayor said, we're going to expand the library next year, but at the same time, we're still planning for the public services building and the fire station on the north side of town to be upgraded, and continuing design work to replace the pedestrian bridge over the highway at Deerfield Road. So there's a lot in this budget. It's 500 pages long or so, and a good read, and a great budget. So thank you for putting all of our priorities into this and making sure we can do the work we need to do here.
Great. Any other questions or comments from the council? You do? Councilmember Lidor?
I just had a quick question for you, and I had commented over the years on the fund balance, and I know you said you were hitting your targets, which is great. I just couldn't, maybe I couldn't see them from here, I apologize. What is our fund balance right now? What was it last year, and what are those targets?
For the general fund, which is our largest
Right, for
operating
the
fund, or
general
which
fund,
fund?
okay.
So as Chris,
So
There you
these
go.
are the fund balances right now, or like 2025 and projected 2024, since we still have
And so
24
what
and the
percentages,
audit to go.
what percentages in terms of change?
In terms of change, I
And
can, once I look at.
that's
it
fine.
at
It's
in the
fine to
budget, I
get
can
it to me after
But
the
know
fact. I
that
just want-
within our financial policies, we have specified parameters so
Right.
that we don't
Yes.
impact our debt rating.
Right, and that's exactly why
Okay.
it's a really hard balance, but
Right.
and I'm very pleased that we're still taking it down, but I just wanted to make sure
we can
what
follow,
those numbers are.
and there's a
That's
page in
fine.
the budget
Yes.
dedicated to
Right.
this exact
I
question
just
that
don't
lists
have it
all
in
of the
front of me, and I
funds.
wanted to know.
And
that
and
we
I
were
think
meeting.
at some point, that is a conversation that we're going to need to revisit, given that my understanding is the state of Illinois' budget is going to be having some difficulties next year. All of the mayors are currently working on trying to restore the local government distributive fund, which has been cut down from 10% to 6.6%.
Right.
Those are real dollars that impact the bottom line.
Right.
The cancellation of the grocery
I
tax,
was
which
just
was
gonna say.
another $1 million right off of the bottom line that the state did without talking to anybody. So I think, we're going to have to see
Where
where
we are.
things are and be even more conservative, frankly,
Right.
to kind of buffer against external forces.
Oh, and honestly, you have done an amazing job of watching that for us, but
Thank
I
you.
just want to make sure that we are still taking it down. But anyhow, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any other members of the council wishing to be heard? Nope, nope. Any comments or questions from the audience? Come on up to the podium. Guys, let's go. One or the other.
Just two quick questions.
Thanks, John. Please state your name again.
Oh,
for the
sorry, John
record.
Center. Appreciate the differentiation in the total revenue and the operating revenue, right, by definition. And the operating revenue is pretty flat. Total revenues, when we look at last year, we had a 20% lift to this year. What was that, call it one-time revenues, that lifted 24 versus 23? Okay, got it. And then other question I had was, there was a slide that showed our real estate, our property taxes, and the city represents 8%, right, of a
The total property
tax, right? How does that compare to other municipalities? Do we know?
We are proud to say that for the city portion that we can control, we are the lowest among the North Shore. And so there's, John, there's a spreadsheet that we can provide you
Awesome.
with that information as well.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks for the hard work. Yep.
Any other members of the public?
Sorry, what was your name, miss? Christy, sorry, I apologize.
Please state your
Christy,
name again for the record.
you know my name, girl.
Please state your name again. for
Levi
the record.
Kane.
Thank you.
Christy, did you happen to look at any of the revenue plans that I proposed to the city? I realized I was sending it all to the council and Sideshow Bob, but I didn't send it to you. Were you able to look at any of the plans to add over 5% to the city's annual budget? Because now you're telling me that 8% of the property, 8% of the city's, did you just say 8% of the city's budget is from property taxes? Is that what you just said? Or no?
No.
Was that, okay, that was wrong, sorry, my bad.
So of your
Okay,
total
hold on,
property
still
tax
talking.
dollar,
I'm still talking.
8%
It's not your time to
is
talk.
going to the city.
It's not your time to talk. Anyway, so,
Mr. Kane, if
Christy,
you could address your comments to the mayor and council.
well, I'm talking to the person who's in
But
charge of the budget,
public hearing
right?
is for us.
Anyway, so I've made these plans that add over 5% to the city's annual budget. And so I guess maybe after this meeting, I'll grab your email and I'll email them to you. Sorry, what? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's about, I don't know, 5% to the city's annual budget. So anywhere really between like $4 to $8 million is what we'll be adding. I don't know. I keep on hearing you guys repeatedly talk about like, oh, it's going to be tight, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. Like, we just add over 5%, boom, right there to the city's annual budget. I know you guys are against that because you're in bed with the festival, clearly.
Still not, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, you are. So you could just, they're very comprehensive, lots of graphs, lots of data, all researched very, very thoroughly. I know I come off as a jerk or a kid with antics. I know, Tony, yeah, baby, you like that, don't you, Tony?
I do.
Yeah. But it's actually very well thoroughly researched, and so I'll send them over to you. Lots of graphs, lots of numbers, lots of research. Is that something you'd be open to looking at potentially?
Mayor, I can address this. So, Mr. Kane, your
I'm not
feedback
talking
was
to you.
shared with our current finance director as well as Director Logan, who had retired. So when you had provided that information, we had a different finance director, but our finance staff does have the information. As we had indicated,
So
when we had all this information, we were substantially done with the proposed budget. And so at this time, we are reviewing all that as part of our budget development, which is going to start in about 4 months.
4 months,
So we
cool.
start the budget in the spring for '26, and we will
I'll be
evaluate all
there.
new considerations at that time.
That's great, yeah, cool. All right, then, yeah, I'll just email to you after this, and if you have any questions, you can shoot them over to me where I got the numbers and all that stuff, and we could look more at that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion to close this public hearing. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Bruckman. Aye. Councilmember Ross.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. The public hearing is now closed. Individuals who were unable to attend this evening's public hearing may submit written comments to the attention of the city finance director. The city council will consider an ordinance adopting the fiscal year 2025 annual budget and related items at our next meeting, which is November 25th, 2024. And with that, I am now asking for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.